for University of Phoenix. She's like, does faculty reviews. They're all online now, University of Phoenix. She reviews faculty classes, and then she also does some teaching. It's good.
Morning. and our communities are deeply concerned about a viral video that appears to show San Diego police officers arresting a man in a Pizza Hut parking lot on Market Street earlier this week, I believe yesterday. Many in this room and across our city have seen the footage. It shows a man telling officers, a man who appears to be Latino, telling officers that he is unarmed, even removing his shirt to demonstrate that he has no weapon. Moments later, multiple officers move in, and one officer appears to repeatedly strike the man as he is held on the ground. Videos like this can shake our community. They raise questions, they stir emotions, and when questions arise, it is the responsibility of city and regional leadership to respond clearly, swiftly, and transparently. Late last night, I spoke directly with Chief Wall about the video and the concerns it has created. And I want to be very clear. We do not know the full context of what happened in this incident before the video begins. We do not know what officers encountered prior to what the public has seen. And it is important that we acknowledge that fact. At the same time, it is equally important to acknowledge what we can see. The visible portion of the incident raises serious and legitimate concerns about whether the amount of force that was used was necessary, appropriate, and proportional. When the public sees something that looks like an imbalance of force, leaders at every level must step forward and engage. I want to say this, and I want to say this plainly. Sorry about that. I want to say this plainly. I have remained supportive of law enforcement. I respect the work of our officers that they do every single day to keep San Diego safe. I have advocated for fair pay, better training, and community-centered policing for years. My support for the men and women who serve this city is real. But support for law enforcement does not mean silence when something does not look right. Support for law enforcement must walk hand in hand with expectations around accountability, transparency, and proportional use of force. Trust is built when the community believes that officers are held to the highest standards of the taxpayer. And that trust is shaken when incidents like this are left unanswered. So this morning I issued a formal letter to Chief Wall and Mayor Gloria that you all in the media have a copy of, outlining several immediate proposed directives that I believe are necessary to restore transparency and maintain public confidence. First, I'm calling for the immediate public release of all SDPD body-worn camera footage related to this incident. That is important in every instance that we get that as the public. The public deserves to see more than one angle recorded by a bystander. Full context matters, and releasing that footage quickly is one of the most important steps that SDPD can take right now. Second, I am urging SDPD leadership to consider placing the officer who appears to be striking the man on administrative leave pending an investigation. This is not a presumption of wrongdoing. It is a standard, responsible measure that departments commonly use to protect both officers and the integrity of the investigative process. Third, I'm calling for an immediate review of SDPD's use of force training, as we should every time an incident like this occurs, including de-escalation practices and expectations for officers to intervene when they observe another officer potentially escalating force. Moments like this require us to look closely at the systems, training, and culture that shape these encounters. Fourth, I have requested that SDPD convene a public briefing of some sort to communicate what is known at this stage. The public should not be left in the blanks with speculation of online videos. The city owes its residents clarity. And fifth, I will be requesting Chief Wall in a community police roundtable in the coming weeks, particularly centered in the neighborhood where this incident occurred. The roundtable will include community leaders, mental health professionals, city officials, clergy, and law enforcement representative. Trust is not rebuilt through statements alone. It is rebuilt through sustained dialogue and partnership. Let me be clear. These directives are not punitive. These proposed directives are regenerative. They are about strengthening community trust, reinforcing the integrity of law enforcement, and ensuring that San Diego continues to lead with a model of public safety, and specifically community-centered public safety, grounded in transparency, accountability, and dignity. We all want a safe city. We all want a city where officers feel supported and where residents feel respected. We all want a city where an incident like this is met with swift, honest communication, not silence. The community in our city and our residents and taxpayers ultimately deserve answers. The community deserves clarity, and right now the community in our city deserve an immediate response that reflects the seriousness of what we have seen. Thank you all for being here this morning, and I will now share quickly the video that has surfaced online, if you look to my right. So as you all can see, there's grave concerns that residents and folks across the city have. Taxpayers deserve an answer. And like I said, I'm not rushing to judgment in this scenario. I'm very appreciative of what our officers do every day. I have been one of the ones that has been actually disagreed with by some of the community because of my stances on restoring police funding, ensuring that we tackle crime, and ensuring that we address retail crime and some of the other concerns that residents and taxpayers feel is there. But residents and taxpayers also want to ensure that when incidents like this happen, every now and then there is an officer that sticks out among all of the great officers in our city's police department. And we are not a police department that has tremendous amounts of issues like this on an everyday basis. I believe that majority of the police officers that serve in our city are well-respected, well-regarded, and do their job to keep our community safe. But at the same time, when there is one that sticks out, we need to get some answers. We need to ensure that we keep the flow of respectable, community-based centered policing going in our city that both protects residents, keeps people safe, and ensures that we are truly keeping the peace. And I think that is the ultimate goal of this discussion. So I'll now take questions from the media.
Did the chief tell you he had seen the video, and what did he tell you about why officers were called there?
So the chief did share with me a brief statement. I am going to be respectful to him because it was a text message, and I want to be careful. But I will say that he did convey that there were some kind of fight that potentially broke out ahead of the officers showing up. We don't know what sparked that fight. We don't know if this gentleman was the person who started it, or if he was actually trying to defend himself against somebody who was trying to hurt him. But we do know there was some kind of fight that essentially happened prior to the incident. The chief conveyed to me that when the officers tried to get him to comply, he wouldn't. Now, I don't know what the chief means exactly by that, but I'm guessing that maybe there were some commands that were yelled out of the car, the police cars, or something of that sort that transpired, and maybe the man at that time was just beginning the process of falling in line, per se. But as you can see in the video, the commands really the video covers the portion of when the officers pull up, from what I can see, and deals with the command portion of the request of officers, get down, and that is when the officers are perceived to have, one of the officers are perceived to have, three of them gathered around him and proceeded to detain him. And that was when one of the officers, as you can see in the video, proceeds to punch him, continuously. But the chief conveyed to me that, yeah, he knows the punches don't look good. He has seen the video, and ultimately he is looking into it. And that is what he shared with me at this time.
Do we know if this man was armed?
Based on what we can see in the video, this man is taking off his clothes. So, if someone's taking off their clothes and trying to show officers that they're basically naked and they don't have any weapon on them, it's very clear to assume that he was not armed. Now, prior to this video, like I said, I don't know what happened. And I want to be respectable to the chief and to the city's police officers. But I want to be clear that what I can see in the video, it looks like a man who is unarmed. It looks like a man who is being detained, essentially. And it looks like one officer in that bunch that was triggered, maybe angry, maybe a culmination of all things, began to punch him. And that does not look like dignity in policing. That does not look like police work. Like I said, whatever happened prior, if this man committed violent crimes, he should be held accountable. But if someone's taking their clothes off and trying to show that they're not armed, there were 5 police cars that I saw pull up here. It's evident to me that there were way more police officers than one man who is appearing to show himself that he's not armed.
With the way that they were responding to the call, I don't mean to make any comparisons, but
Mhm.
we do see the police officer kneeling on his neck, similar to the George Floyd situation.
Mhm.
Did the chief mention anything about the tactics being used? Were they SDPD approved tactics?
The chief did not convey anything about that. I did have concerns regarding that portion of force, but I also wanted to be kind of hesitant to dig in on that, because I don't know if it was the exact knee on the neck like George Floyd, and I also the video didn't show me enough of a view to really dig into whether he was violating the law in regard to his conduct pertaining to the knee. But I will say the punches seem excessive. And it reminds me of another incident that happened in La Jolla. Some of you might remember Jesse Evans, the black male who was simply detained, arrested, and beat up by police officers in La Jolla because he was using the bathroom. He was not armed. And so I think that's why we want the body-worn camera footage, so we can really look from another purview and from the body-worn camera footage purview to really understand what was the context of the knee on the neck, and where was it, and was this proper conduct. But I do know, based on what I can see, the officer punching him is just not. That's a little excessive.
So the officer punching him, regardless of what happened before,
Mm-hmm.
I imagine if we get a statement from the police, which we may not,
Mm-hmm.
that they're going to say he was resisting at that instant being handcuffed. What did you see in the video about that?
Well, I saw a man who was surrendering. I saw something quite different. I mean, look, we can have different opinions, but we can't have different facts. I mean, we looked at the video. We could see clearly this man is taking his clothes off. He's when they approach him, he does not seem like he's fighting. He seems like he's surrendering. And I want to get this right, because I have gotten it wrong before. Nobody's gotten it right all the time. But from what I can see, it appears to me that this man was surrendering, and he was in that mode where he was ready to surrender. He understood that the numbers outweighed him, and it seemed like he was going to fall to be detained. Now, when someone is arrested, you always see a little finagling because they might be uncomfortable. There might be multiple things there, but it did not seem like he was cussing officers out, like he was saying, I'm not going down, I'm going to fight. He didn't seem like he was going in for a fight here. And so I know it is standard for police institutions and associations to sort of argue that someone was resisting, but I didn't see much resistance at all, if any. What I saw was a man in surrender, and one officer in particular that went completely outside of what I would call police work.
It seems like the man could be a homeless person. He's got no shoes on. Is there any clarity on that from authorities?
So from my understanding, based on the video, the man had a baby in a car, that white truck that is there. They're yelling, his baby's in the car, or there's a baby in the car. I believe whatever happened prior to this video, there was some kind of fight. That's what the chief is telling me. We don't have all the details. I want to be careful. But it seems to me like the car has a baby in it, and it seems like he was, in that, getting out of that car or had been in that car, and he had taken his shoes off. But I don't, like I said, have more details than what I can see in the video and based on the conversation that I had with the chief.
Did the chief say anything about the charges, and was he taken to jail after this or anything like that?
Nothing about the charges. I believe it's probably, not appropriate for the chief at this time to convey that.
Well, it's public information.
It's public information. I just don't have his name. If I had his name, yeah.
He was actually arrested and taken into custody?
Sorry, we lost your picture there.
From my understanding, he was arrested and taken into custody.
That's okay.
Right.
Did you talk to the police on the phone, or did you exchange texts with him?
I exchanged texts with the chief of police. So I want to thank Chief Wall. He's done fairly well during his tenure, and I have a very respectable relationship with the chief. But I also want to convey that our communities and our city, and there's a long history, as you all know, of black and brown, in particular, communities of color, feeling that policing is not centered with a culturally competent context and understanding of that history. And so we don't want to go backwards. We want to go forward. And when we experience things like this, we want to make sure that there's some context. There have been many officer-involved shootings over the past few years. Many of us have not said a word because facts came out, officers responded quick, the chief responded quick, and it was clear that many of those cases, people had weapons or some kind of violent act. In this situation, it does not appear that the force that was used by this particular officer was the proper force. And I think he knew it because he looked back. If you saw the end of the video, he looked back like, oh, damn, I'm on video. And so, but I do want to thank those who were bystanders, those who recorded, and I just want to convey that we need to get the body-worn camera footage so that we have an official purview from the city level. But I want to thank you all for being here. Again, I'm Shane Harris, the San Diego Public Advocate. Address me in that context, and if there's any further questions, my office can be reached at 619-354. At Jason. You can email jason.shaneharrisnow@gmail.com. Jason Verrett will take any questions pertaining to this incident. But I want to thank you all, and like I said, as soon as we get more information, we'll continue to bring that forth to the public. But we want to convey to the public that we're doing everything we can to try to get answers here on what happened, and in the forward movement of this situation, and we'll keep everybody updated. Yes, Jenny.
Just one last question, I'm sorry. In this day and age of social media, and videos like this hit every social platform, I noticed you had over 6,000 comments, or you didn't, the video had over 6,000 comments. Sometimes a video like this comes out, I think you're calling for calm and let's wait, let's see, I'm advocating for accountability. People can get whipped up over this.
Yeah.
Get upset and can act out. What do you think about that? What are you asking the public to do when they see this?
Well, I have been consistent over the years. In 2020, I was in Minneapolis. While I was with the family of George Floyd, I got reports that here back home, banks were being burned in La Mesa. And I got back, and when I got back, the day I got back, I immediately called out looting and rioting. And I've been consistent. We need to channel our frustrations and address issues with fact and context. And we will never get answers, nor will we get a civilized society by looting, rioting, or doing any kind of violent criminal acts in response to this. So I want to encourage the community to continue to get answers, seek answers. This is a formal way that you can do it. You can write letters like I did. I'm a common citizen just like anybody else. And you can address your public officials and you can ask your council members for answers. I have addressed two council members in particular, Councilmember Henry Foster and Councilmember Vivian Moreno. That area coincides with two districts, Districts 4 and 8. And those are the council members that oversee that area. I think the line blurs right there, but we have to do everything we can to get answers and be civilized. And I believe that San Diegans, based on what I can see, and I don't think it's just because it's raining. I think if folks were angry enough, they would be doing something more violent. I think people are channeled, and I think people are asking questions. And I think when you look at Dago TV's Instagram page, where this video came from, they were the first to report this, that people are commenting and they're seeking answers. I think we learned a lot from 2020 and beyond, and I think our society is ready to move forward in a more unified community and police-centered conversation about ensuring that taxpayers are better represented. Because at the end of the day, police officers, their checks come from taxpayer dollars, just like politicians do. And so everyone here is having a conversation, and I think the goal here is to always demonstrate that it's better to seek answers than to act violently or loot or riot or any of that. And if any of that ever happened, I would be first to come out against it.
You said you're reproducing this video off Dago TV. Are we allowed to reproduce this on our own, or did you reach out to them? Are they letting you?
Well, Dago TV, if you look on their page, they actually they always say in their post that no copyright is necessary, so they don't even get approval sometimes for the videos that they post, and I don't think they got approval in this video because they actually put in their caption that no copyright necessary. So they're actually saying that on their page, but this is a very public page, and I saw the person that is saying that he recorded the video commenting on the video on the page, and it seems like he's approving of the video. And I did reach out to him. He has a private page to make sure that it would be okay with him, but I have not heard back at this time.
So what if the police just issue a statement and they don't release the body cam, as we've seen before, because this is not like a shooting or fatal incident? And also, if they don't convene a summit for you, what if they just release a written statement? What would be the response?
I think that's a partial response to what we're asking for. I mean, it's something. I've always learned, you ask for 10, and if you get 7, then that's a start. I think the goal is we want to keep I think we are have been going in the right direction regarding community-centered policing and building bridges. And I think that if they want to continue to build that kind of platform, then they should try to address all the things that we address. But if they address 1 and 2 and they don't address 3 and 4, that's a start. And then that's, I think, essentially what we're looking for. If they don't put out the body-worn camera footage, it might be time to look into state law. It might be time to look into changing state law and making it so where it's required, not just in officer-involved shootings, but in other incidents like this, that there should be a requirement, that same requirement for officer-involved shootings, that a body-worn camera footage video is released. Look, I was a part of the original roundtable of former police chief Shelley Zimmerman's advisory board, and I was a part of that roundtable with Bishop Bowser and a number of other leaders. We were first to push and get body-worn cameras on SDPD officers way back in 2014, 15, somewhere around there. We were a part of that effort. And when it was announced, we were there with Shelley Zimmerman announcing that body-worn cameras will now be on SDPD officers. At the end of the day, the best way to demonstrate transparency, if you say that there was no real questionable misconduct here, show the body-worn camera footage. Give us the full picture, right? If you're saying there's more to this, then show us that. And if we can't get that, then we'll look at other means to begin the process of changing state law, to also make it a requirement that when there's incidents, not just shootings, that we look into making it so where the same requirement applies for body-worn camera footage. But I believe that the chief is good-willed. I believe he will do his due diligence here. I think he knows the community and the city, and people are concerned and people are watching. And I think that the chief is going to try to do what's right here, and give as much as he can and demonstrate as much transparency. At least that's what I believe, and that's what I'm banking on. All right? So thank you guys for being here this morning, and that concludes the news conference. Thank you guys.